The race for QB2 this season for Texas A&M could have long-term effects on the position.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. Up and down weekend for Texas A&M athletics. The series lost to Florida. A basketball team makes the NCAA tournament thanks to a run in the SEC tournament. We will discuss all of these things today right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I had a thought. Sometimes I'll lay down and I'm going to think about what I'm going to talk about, on the show today. And laying down this morning, and I said, I assume Connor Brigman's going to be quarterback one. Feel pretty confident in that. But who the backup is could have long-term effects on the position. So hear me out. Marcel Reed, young guy, going to be a sophomore this year. Last year, Jaylen Henderson was listed as a sophomore, so you assume this year he'll be listed as a junior. So a couple of years left for Henderson, few years left for Marcel Reed. The new world of college football changes the way that we think about the sport, the way that we project, the way that we assume rosters, and it changes all that. And I think looking at the landscape of this quarterback room going forward, I have concerns that if Marcel Reed is not QB2 this year, that he might hit the portal. Now, this isn't based on anything he said, not based on anything other than the way the minds of college football players are now with the portal being a tool. So does Marcel, that's kind of my thought. And then I think that the upside for Marcel Reed is higher than the upside for Jaylen Henderson. I think Jaylen Henderson is an incredible quarterback who showed so much last season. That, we learned a lot about him as a player. We didn't know much. When Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino brought him in, we were like, who's this guy? What are they doing? Is something wrong? Are we worried about the position? Of course, he ends up being QB, 3, but he was valuable. He helped this team. He looked good. He won some football games. And, he's a really good quarterback. But is he going to be as good as Marcel Reed? I don't know. I really like Marcel Reed. I like the upside of Marcel Reed. I think that he showed a lot with his arm. I think he can run the football. I think he's going to be an incredible dual threat quarterback. And when I say dual threat, he's a genuine dual threat. He can really do it both. And so who do you want long-term on your roster? This is a tough one. And then you have to look at the entire landscape. You've got Miles O'Neal, the quarterback in this class. You're looking at a few options for 2025, but I'm pretty confident Texas A&M is going to get a really good quarterback for the 2025 class. So, you're going to rebuild this position. You got a young kid in O'Neal who can sling it. You never know what's going to happen with him. Then you're going to have somebody coming in after him that could be a star. So the older guys, Connor Brigman, how much longer is he going to be around? A good year this year. Is he off to the NFL? I would assume you get another year out of Brigman after this year. And that's too. Wigman's not old either. Wigman is not old. Wigman could be around too with one of those like medical he could be around a few more years. So basically, you have a talented position. And that's just as frustrating as it is. This is the reality of what college football is now. If these players aren't happy with playing time, well, I just don't see the path to playing time. I don't see it in a few years. They're going to leave sometimes. Marcel Reed could go and start for Power 5 teams right now. Right now. Texas A&M, one thing that the Aggies are stacked in my opinion, is starting quarterbacks. You have 3 guys who I think could be starting quarterbacks, even at some SEC schools. I'm saying Reed and Henderson, I think could start at some SEC schools right now. That is how talented your roster is. You have 3 quarterbacks who can play flat out, sling it, run the football, great players. And unfortunately, there's only one quarterback out there. So what does that look like? Does Marcel Reed, if he sees his name 3rd on the depth chart, does he go, I think I'm going to go find a new place to play? And I think that would be, killer. I think Connor Rigman, he got pushed onto the field early. He was on the field as a freshman because of injuries. Last year, he was a starter, of course, going down with the injury. This position group is interesting ahead of next season. Because if I had to predict the order of the start of the quarterback depth chart, if I had to predict it, I think it would be Wigman, Marcel Reed, then Jaylen Henderson. And I could be wrong about that. You could flip-flop those two at 2 and 3. But I do feel what I'm saying is QB3 might want to hit the portal because of how talented the room is. Once again, you have 3 guys that deserve to be Power 5 starters. I feel bad that you got 2 guys sitting on the bench that deserve to be out there playing ball. So what does that look like? Do we see somebody, leave? And once again, this is purely based on the way college football works today. It's nothing I've heard or anything like that. It's just the way that college football works. We tend to see quarterbacks, players leave if there's no true path to playing time. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. And I guess my other point is I would rather have Marcel Reed on the roster long-term than Jaylen Henderson. And it brings me so much pain to say that because I love Jaylen Henderson. He is a dog. He came out last year, came out of nowhere, and became an incredible player, really showed Aggie fans, showed college football who he is as a player. And I didn't expect that. I don't think a lot of people did expect that. I think we went, here we go. And I just think that the long-term upside for Marcel Reed's higher. And I could be wrong about that. I think they're both great football players. I think they both flashed signs of incredible quarterback play. Marcel Reed, of course, in a smaller sample size. It was just that bowl game because Henderson goes down with the injury. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, I think Texas A&M once again is going to get a good quarterback in 2025. I think that now that would make Henderson older at that point and Reed older to where, but the point is Marcel Reed, I think, is going to be the guy going forward. And I think Henderson knows how good he is, knows he can go somewhere else and start. And I think he might make that decision if he sees his name 3rd on that depth chart after spring. So, in the summer, does he hit the portal? Maybe. And that would be frustrating because of how Texas A&M's, history of quarterback injuries happens every single year, it feels like. And you have 3 guys right now who can play. If that then goes down to 2, you go, ooh, if Wigman goes down and then Marcel Reed goes down and, are we going to O'Neal? That's kind of my point here. So this is going to be an interesting storyline to monitor, in my opinion, just because you could see one of these guys hit the portal in my opinion, if they don't see their name where they want it on the depth chart. And I think that would stink long term, but I get it if those players want to make that decision to go somewhere and start. So thoughts on that? Is that a concern for anybody else? I want to hear y'all's thoughts on that conversation. So let me know your thoughts there. But Texas A&M makes the NCAA tournament after a run in the SEC tournament. We will have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to make it to the next level. The Yukon Huskies can only be discussed as an armada. The top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder why they've landed the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They're one of the favorites to win it all, despite 4 of the Power 6 conference champions standing in their way in the East region. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com today. I also want to tell you about our friends over at Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a consistent supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us here at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the games, analysis, highlights, and more. Keep up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Basketball gets it done. Ladies and gentlemen, I was not expecting this. I didn't think the team was going to make the tournament a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I didn't. And they did what they needed to do. Power to these guys. Hats off to Wade Taylor. Hats off to Manny Obaseki. Hats off to Anderson Garcia, Boots Radford. This team did exactly what they needed to do. They beat Ole Miss. We discussed that game last week, so we won't go deep into that. And then they beat Kentucky. And I feel like that is what really – and, you know, Texas A&M got all the way up to a 9 seed. Right now I'm blanking on that. Let me pull that up. It was 9 seed, right? Yes. To a 9 seed, they're going to play Nebraska in the first round of the NCAA tournament on Friday. They're in the South region. So, you know, what's interesting about this, not even interesting, not the right word. What's amazing about this team is the way that they fought. I'm so proud of this basketball team. I mean, they were dead in the water, and they found a way to make it happen. I mean, they were not going to make the NCAA tournament, and then a run at the SEC tournament gets it done. You know, they played a Kentucky team that was red hot, just like A&M was, but Kentucky was red hot, and they beat the brakes off them. I mean, Texas A&M, that game, it got close at times, but every time it got close, big basket from the Aggies, layup at the other end, 3-pointer. You know, I was at the game, and every time, seriously, and I'll tell you this, there were some Aggie fans in there. There was a lot of blue and white in there, a lot. It was loud. It was extremely loud. But Texas A&M was able to not be intimidated by that environment, which is difficult to do. It was incredibly loud. I mean, it was full of Kentucky fans. Seriously, like, I can't overexpress this. If you're a Texas A&M fan there, concur, leave this in the comments because, y'all know it was loud. But doesn't matter because the team shows up, and every time Kentucky got it to 4 points. Basket on the other end to make it 6 or a 3 to make it 7. Every time. They would not let Kentucky really get back in that game. They'd let them get close, and then they go on a little 4-0 run, 5-0 run to extend the lead back out. And then in that game, let's run through the numbers. So Texas A&M beats Kentucky 97-87. You get 11 points from Solomon Washington, 4 or 7 from the field, 2 or 3 from deep, 7 boards. You get 32 points from Wade Taylor, 11 to 24 from the field, 6 to 14 from deep, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. It was fun. Where I was sitting, in the media section right up close, you can hear Wade hollering at people after making some baskets. It was fun. It was fun watching him. He was having a good time. And then Manny Obaseki has 17 points, 6 to 12 from the field, 1 of 1 from deep, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And then Boots Radford fills up the stat line, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Garcia, kind of a modest game from Garcia, 5.7 rebounds. But Texas A&M was incredible. I think they had like 26 second chance points. They were incredible getting second chance points against the Wildcats. This was an all-around really great performance to get the win. And I think this really locked in. This is the one, when they won this game, I was like, okay, the Aggies are in the tournament. We're good. And then you play Florida close, lose this game 95-90. You were up 12 at half, or up 8 at half, excuse me. And then in the second half, they outscore you by 13 points. I was proud of this team. Once again, Wade Taylor, 30 points. I think what happened to Florida is they had a player, the Aberdeen kid, get hot, 4 or 5 from deep. The Gators shoot 14 to 26 from deep. Just one of those. Walter Clayton's 5 of 10. You just tip your cap. They got hot. They got hot from deep. They won the game. Texas A&M shoots 42% from the field, 38% from deep. And then the free throws, I was happy with the free throws here, 26 to 32. When you shoot that many, I'll take 81% all day long. So I was just proud of this team. I was proud of this team in the way they fought. And I'll tell you this. If Texas A&M can get past Nebraska, and we'll preview that game more this week, if they can get past Nebraska, they're going to play Houston. And I'm just telling you, the way they're shooting the ball, I'm not saying they're going to beat Houston, but I am telling you, I do think that this team is going to be able to shoot the ball, which is going to be huge. You played Houston close early in the year. You already played them. And you got to remember, I think playing Houston, now once again, you got to beat Nebraska to get there. But when you play Houston, it's hard to get used to that defensive intensity, to what they're going to do, how they're going to play it. And Texas A&M, they know that. They've played them. And I think that is a big deal. I think knowing what their defensive pressure looks like, what it feels like, you can game plan well for it. Say, we have seen this. I think that helps. So haven't played them, played a close game with them. You could have won it. Lose that game 70-66. You were down big at halftime, but you're able to kind of come back, push hard in the second half, put up 43 points in the second half. Wade Taylor's got 34. You've seen the way they play. I do think that you can beat this team if you play well. And you have to make threes. If Wade Taylor gets hot from deep, you can win this game. If you're not making threes, you're not making your free throws, you're not going to win this game. But we will preview the NCAA tournament more later in the week. I just want to talk about the SEC tournament, what happened, and the big wins there for the Aggies to secure the 9 seed in the NCAA tournament and go dancing. But great run in the tournament. It was a lot of fun being at those games. A lot of fun watching the selection show and seeing that the Aggies did, in fact, make the tournament, because I did not think it was going to happen. Proud of this team, proud of the way they fought to get in the NCAA tournament. Now we've got to talk about it. As much as it hurts me, we've got to talk about Texas A&M's series loss to the Florida Gators. We will have that conversation coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. I love LinkedIn. I've used it to hire before. I've used it to look for jobs for myself. It's an all-around great service that helps connect folks looking for a job with jobs, and helps employers find qualified candidates for their positions, whether it's a small business, large business. You got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free now. Terms and conditions do apply. So the baseball team goes to Gainesville and loses the series 1-2. Frustrating, painful. You now have a loss on your resume, which hurts. And that's frustrating. But this team played a good Florida team close. And we're not doing moral victories, not something we're going to do here. The point is, I'm not worried about this baseball team. Florida has a lot of future professional baseball players on their roster, as does Texas A&M. This was 2 high-power baseball teams going at it. 2 teams that you could see in Omaha going at it. That's what we saw today. Played at their place, which I do. I don't think playing away from your ballpark is that big of a deal. I don't think home field advantage in baseball is as important as football and basketball. Now, I know that it just doesn't, the crowd noise doesn't really get to you in baseball. I'm just telling you, it just doesn't. I just don't think it gets to you like it does in other sports. That's just based on the sports I've played, the way it's just the way it is. The only way it bothers you is when you're in the outfield and you got people lined up on the field. Because you're just standing there getting yelled at, which is funny, but it's part of it. So game 1, you lose this game 6-8. I guess, so the hitters, 7 hits, 13 strikeouts. That's kind of be the theme. Pitchers give up 12 hits in this game. I think what's frustrating about this game is the 13 strikeouts at the plate. When you strike out 13 times, it's really hard to win a baseball game. Putting the ball in play, putting pressure on the defense is always important. And when you strike out 13 times, you're not doing that. You are not putting pressure on the defense. You're just not. So, I was a little frustrated with the strikeouts. They had another game with 13 strikeouts too. In both losses, you have 13 strikeouts. So that's frustrating. You got to put the ball in play, make things happen, make the defense work. I know it's a baseball cliche, but it's reality. If you put the ball in play, good things tend to happen. So, that's something to remember is, hey, let's put the ball in play. In game 2, you get the win, the 10-6 win. You get 9 hits. You get on 9 base on balls. Love 9 walks, because that means you're seeing pitches well. That means that you're doing a good job getting your pitch, getting on base, good eye, all important stuff, and loads up the bases. When you got players on base all game, it puts pressure on the pitching staff. You love opposing pitching staffs having to throw high pressure innings. That is what the Florida pitchers had to do in this game because of the 9 walks. Montgomery has 2 hits, 3 RBIs. The bullpen was incredible. The bullpen, incredible. 1 earned run in 6.2 innings of work for the bullpen, leading to the 10-6 victory over Florida in game 2. And, once again, all around great performance to get the win here. Set up a series finale, winner take all. And you drop this one in a bit of a pitcher's duel. Normally, it's kind of funny because Sunday in the SEC, normally that's when you have your 11-9 games or your 14-11 games, But in this game, you have a 4-2 game, which, normally Sunday is more of a, hey, we're out of bullpen guys, and we're gonna see what happens here. Wasn't the case in this game. It was a real pitcher's duel, back and forth, 4-2 game. Hitters only have 6 hits. Another game here with 13 strikeouts, 11 left on base. That will kill you. That right there, when you leave a lot on base, I call that not being able to get the big hit. You couldn't get the big hit. Getting the big hit, as I call it, 2 outs, men on second and third, big hit. 2 outs, bases loaded, 2 outs, runner on first and second. That is the big hit. You have to be able to get the big hit to win these games. And sometimes winning a game, you might have gotten a big hit. Sometimes winning these games takes 2 big hits, 3 big hits. And you just weren't able to get enough big hits in this game to get the win. So that's frustrating. It's frustrating that you just couldn't get the big hit in this game. 11 left on base. Pitching staff was pretty solid. 7 hits, 2 walks, 2 hit by pitch. Pitching staff, 4 runs on a Sunday in an SEC game. I'm not going to be upset about. You just, your team's a couple big hits away from winning this ball game, and you couldn't get them. So for folks that maybe are concerned about this team, don't be. Please don't be. This team's going to be okay. Florida's a really good baseball team. Texas A&M is a really good baseball team. This weekend, it's baseball. Florida got the best of Texas A&M. Maybe they play again next weekend. Could be the polar opposite. This team's going to be okay. You got Mississippi State this week. Mississippi State is not, they're fine. They're okay. They're not top tier. They're fine. Win that series, sweep that series, and nobody's upset about it. Another key, when you lose a series, don't get swept. You can't ever get swept. So you're not going to win every series. Okay? You're not going to win every series. You lost this series. It stinks, but you didn't get swept, and that's huge. You did a good job to avoid, you do a good job there. So you've got to find a way to win this series this weekend, Otherwise, we'll start to have some conversations. But this team's going to be okay. Don't let anybody tell you there's something wrong with Texas A&M's baseball team, because there's not. This team is really good, and they're going to have a really good season. And I predict another series win this weekend. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really do appreciate it. Fun weekend of sports. Hope everybody had a good St. Patrick's Day. Hope everybody has a great rest of their day today, and we will see you tomorrow.